Hi, folks. This is Steve Adams with Actionpacked Networks. I'll be your moderator today. Welcome to the QoS Workshop series sponsored by Actionpacked Networks. Today's session is focused on troubleshooting quality of service using flow visualization and the class-based quality of service MIB. Our featured speaker, of course, is Keith Parsons from the Actionpacked Networks engineering team. Keith is an industry innovator who's helped to design and bring several network monitoring and analysis tools to market. He's also the technical instructor for our LiveAction quality of service training classes. There's a suite of QoS training videos on our website, and of course you can download the LiveAction software for evaluation from the Actionpacked Networks website as well. As far as our agenda for today, the session will run about 30 minutes. We'll first talk a little bit about Actionpacked Networks and what we do. Then we'll outline some of the challenges typically faced with implementing quality of service on your network. Keith will discuss some of the concepts behind running quality of service and then demonstrate techniques for troubleshooting QoS issues using the flow visualization technology that we have and also the information sourced from the CBQoS MIB. We'll then wrap up today's session with a Q&A portion of the day. So who is Actionpacked Networks? You might be familiar with us. We're a thought leader in the field of quality of service management for today's networks. We create intelligent network management tools and network security tools for engineers. Actionpacked is a division of Referentia Systems, which is a privately held company established in 1996, which has extensive experience in developing software for the U.S. Department of Defense. LiveAction QoS software that you'll be seeing today during today's workshop was originally developed for the U.S. military, specifically to simplify QoS provisioning and management, and it's been adapted for use in the commercial marketplace. Our customers have realized significant benefits in network troubleshooting as well as QoS policy design and implementation. LiveAction's expert QoS system includes built-in templates and also enables creation of customized policy templates. Our exclusive flow visualization technology is unique in the industry and provides unparalleled visibility for both system-level and then conversation-level troubleshooting. The big advantage that we provide is that you can immediately see if the policies are working after you set them up. There's no real guessing about if the policies are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and this is a big step forward. LiveAction software has received praise from Cisco Systems in both 2010 and 2011 for empowering network engineers to leverage functionality that is embedded in the Cisco IOS. It's really become a go-to tool for Cisco engineers to recommend to their customers. What are some of the typical challenges that you would see today as far as designing quality of service and implementing it on next-generation networks? Well, voice and video are paramount. What's the best type of policy to use for voice and video in your environment? How can you be sure if the policies are doing what they're supposed to be doing? And most importantly, how can you effectively update those policies on your network? Changes happen based on business need as your business evolves. How can you find that proverbial needle in the haystack, the nagging cause of voice call quality problems that is likely due to some type of misconfiguration? Misconfigurations account for at least 50% of the problems that you're going to find on networks usually. You may have a good quality of service policy set up, but perhaps the trust settings could be throwing away the DSCP markings. That's a lot more common than you would think it would be. Your business or certain sites within your business may have a need to prioritize certain applications during specific times of the day, week, or month. For example, you may expect to see an increase in the amount of video conferencing on your network associated with key executive meetings. Our dynamic policy management feature can roll out a policy automatically to accommodate the increase in video conferencing traffic and then restore to the more normalized policy afterwards. Many of our customers are now doing trending and capacity planning by class of service. Often network engineers will face challenges in working with multiple carriers over a large MPLS fabric. Understanding how QoS works from an end-to-end perspective is critical there. LiveAction's unique system-level views help to resolve issues with your service providers and eliminate finger pointing. We're extremely excited about the new MediaNet capabilities in the Cisco IOS and are one of only a few network management software vendors that Cisco has chosen to collaborate on this. LiveAction software enables you to fully leverage this new MediaNet functionality offered in the Cisco IOS. For the first time, for example, you're able to get actual jitter and latency measurements from the RTP streams without having to use packet capture tool. This is a big deal. So with MediaNet, the jitter measurements are populated into flexible NetFlow fields, and then they're brought into LiveAction for analysis. This is a big step towards realization of Cisco's PFR, or performance routing architecture. I encourage you to visit our website after the workshop today. Our resource page is packed with great reference material and training videos, and there are some good examples of how our clients are using LiveAction. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Keith Parsons for the hands-on training part of the workshop.
Good morning or good afternoon to everyone, depending on where we're at today. My name is Keith Parsons, and I'll be doing the showing of the presentation today of how to manage QoS in your network. This is one of our series of really how to understand QoS, or Cisco's QoS today. And today we're going to be showing you part of the solution using LiveAction, a better way of managing quality of service in your network today. We do have an expert system that's built into our tool, and I'll be demonstrating it today to be able to help you manage NetFlow, quality of service, and NBAR today. And how do we use this tool to help you be able to find problems as well as be able to get ready to deploy quality of service on your network as well. The problem has been this. A lot of people today want to use NetFlow and quality of service and NBAR, but the problem of command line has been overwhelming to some. We've removed completely that complexity, and everything that we show you today will be done through a graphical GUI interface in managing NetFlow, QoS, NBAR, and deployment of policies and monitoring in your network as well. So first, let's talk a little bit about our first item, about NetFlow. Really, a lot of people have asked me about NetFlow over the years is where did it really come from? And NetFlow is really a switching technology designed for switching speed up. The value of the information in the cache was a later discovery. Before, packets were handled individually, and today, packets are being handled as a network flow. This flow state information is being maintained and now being exported to us so we can collect it, and therefore we now have a great view inside the network from an actual level. We are a collector, and the flows are sent to us and stored in our database forever as long as you got disk space. So we are a long-term forensics tool to be able to go back in time to be able to identify applications to help us be able to set up properly classes for quality of service. So what does NetFlow really do? It is really the who, what, when, where, and how of accounting technology is what was really created for it. We've been able to make sense of the NetFlow data using all the fields and be able to show explicitly what classes of service traffic's in, be able to monitor flows through the network using our dynamic flow tracking. We provide near real-time charts and reports of network traffic and in-depth views and helps for rapid diagnosis during troubleshooting today. The scenarios of use that we've seen for NetFlow in the past is looking at bandwidth uses per minute. When you're recording every conversation, such as most tools should, you can look at any interface at any time and be able to determine any quality of service issues by seeing the flow visualization that we present. Having all the flows also make it a great data source for being able to see for security, as well as voice over video for traffic management as well. We do, when you have every flow, you can use forensics for worm and virus detection, and the traffic identification is outstanding for being able to see the embedded HTML as well as web traffic such as Skype and others can be identified as well using NetFlow. There are primarily two versions of NetFlow that are in use today. For those of you who have routers and switches that are Cisco, it's typically version 5 and version 9. The original version was 1, but was abandoned due to no sequence numbers to detect lost flows. So if we have a choice on detecting either using version 5 or version 9, it's really how your network is set up and the level of equipment. We did create recently a new version of NetFlow version 9 with flexible templates as well to give us a new way of monitoring and to add specific features. Those were, if you're using multicasting or if you're MPLS or you're using V6, you would want to use NetFlow version 9 on your network to be able to see this information as well. We have taken it one step further, and we're now supporting MediaNet. MediaNet is NetFlow version 9 flexible template. And with flexible templates now, if you've got a 3750G or actually 3560, you can actually collect this information and be able to see things in the stream such as RTP stream information showing mile score, showing also jitter minimum and maximum and fraction loss can all be detected very, very easily using the new MediaNet templates that are available using NetFlow version 9. So how do we use NetFlow data is really for forensics, troubleshooting, and detailed reporting. But the power of the usage of information is having that we can detect the actual applications by port number and see these applications, which help us classify via ACL or NBAR that I'll show you later, being able to find out those percentage of traffic patterns and what applications are on our network and who's using what. It's also great for being able to help us classify internet traffic that we want to monitor and maybe also put into a scavenger class or else put it into a default class as well. The utilization monitoring does help us locate the traffic on many levels from our applications that we'll need to classify down to other applications as web surfing, peer-to-peer as well. This will help us optimize our network applications and the bandwidth by being able to have that distinct view as well. The capacity planning, once again, that we speak of is, once again, the abilities of monitoring the application usage to identify which applications are consuming the bandwidth, and then the top 20, top either of being able to see which is consuming bandwidth. NetFlow is also great for looking at security as well. Since you have every conversation, it can help mitigate attacks on your network. This is an example of a security attack, of an actual attack. The flows at the top, as you can see, the addresses at the top were actually infected, and at the bottom of the screen, these devices were attacked, but they were not compromised. We can actually monitor this with our flows, and using our flow technology, which is unique, help you be able to see where you have problems and where they lie in your network as well. It is based off having all the records and all the conversations that help us be able to see and how to classify data going forward to deploying quality of service in our network right now. As we can see in my example on my screen, this is actually NetFlow right now running on one of the interfaces in my router on my test lab. Notice we can actually see the traffic being broke down by port number at the top and the bottom and show the flows by port very, very easily. Also, we can have the ability of being able to select by source or destination IP and by DSCP markings. So notice in this example, we can see our traffic patterns as well and see what traffic is actually flowing over our interfaces very, very easily as well. I'm using NetFlow version 5 for this example, so we can also show you things such as source and destination IP are very easily seen, and so we can track those users with a single mouse click as well. One of the unique things about the tool that we have is our detailability of following traffic. This is how most companies show NetFlow today, is in a tabular view, and we do the same. But also notice our flow tracking technology allows me to highlight a device and instantly see the information. Its port numbers, class numbers, and such as DSCP values can easily be shown as well. So if I'm I'm running policies on my network and I want to see class of service and I want to be able to examine, it's very easy for me to filter, for example, on DSCP 46, and then we would be able to capture that traffic as we can see and go forward, and we could actually monitor and see where that traffic is flowing. So filters can be set very, very easily, and then we can actually monitor that traffic as well as all traffic across the network can then be seen as well. We do have many reports that are available, and one of them is, like, for instance, the aggregation report. The ability of being able to classify the data for you and show it by IP address and by protocol aggregation helps me in classifying in which protocols I need to put in what classes for quality of service as well. So we do have that ability built into the tool as well. Also, something that's very unique is that all of you are out there looking at today doing quality of service. You're going to use either NBAR to help classify your data, or you may use ACL. Notice that as I click on our conversations, I actually highlight them in the trace. And within our unique tool, we can actually go out and actually create an ACL based off of the NetFlow. Now that I've created that ACL, I can now use it and deploy it through quality of service. This is a very unique feature that we see in our tool, of being able to even be able to deny traffic, such as this was a denial of service attack. I could actually create it and apply it to the router and stop a denial of service attack very, very easily with the tool as well. But being able to create ACLs based off NetFlow is very unique in the helping of you being able to get ready to classify traffic and put it in the proper class. We help manage that ability very, very well as well. In addition, since we're on the subject, we do provide complete ACL control for you So as you get ready to configure your quality of service as well, you will need at times of use ACL management, and we do provide that feature as well. Also, as we look at the flows as well as we can see them going through the network, we actually can see the traffic. It is very easy, once again, to actually have the portal as well. So the portal provides in-depth reporting to help you classify your data. So it's easy for us to bring up and run reports based off needs and to be able to see that data very, very easily and be able to report on it over periods of time. The portal comes with our tool as well and provides that ability to have that drill-down reporting that you need to help you classify data from a NetFlow perspective as well. I'm going to go ahead and do something very unique, and notice on the VLAN 10 to get ready for our next segment, I'm going to actually roll out a policy for our CBQoS session. Within the tool, we can create a policy from template to be able to use templates to roll out our policies very easily instead of going command line. So you can use advanced templates, and those templates are available for you. So those of you who are looking to roll out quality of service, no longer do you have to look. We are once again going to provide the template for you. Today we're showing you how to monitor and classify that data properly. So let me go ahead and put out a policy right now so we can get started. I'm going to simply apply a policy to interface using our LiveAction, and I'm actually picking up all the policies that exist on my network right now, and I'm going to roll one out to set some DSCP values on the input side of the interface. I have now put that policy in place, and let's go on to our next segment of our actual training today. CBQoS. CBQoS is class-based quality service MIB that can be utilized to show how applications are delivered with an infrastructure with defined policies. It's been available for a while in 12.4 and above, and the QoS statistics generated by CBQoS are made available via SNMP. So polling the CBQoS MIB gives us that detailed information about QoS policies applied to interfaces and the class-based traffic patterns. The CBQoS MIB gives us information such as pre-policy, post-policy, and the drop within each class of the traffic on your network and help network administrators make more of informed QoS policy decisions. Reporting should be available in terms of volume of traffic, the number of packets, traffic speed and queue. Pre- and post-policy drops, and along with different traffic class, along with queuing status is very important, and we should be able to have graphs being able to show our pre-policy, post-policy drop packets, as well as being able to monitor the classes and the actual applications within them as well. To measure the effectiveness of CBQoS policies and pre- and post-policy traffic levels per class map, we do actually query the CBQoS and show it, but what we do dynamically is that we can actually modify quality of service once we find a problem, which is very unique for our tool as well. The traffic can be segmented by class of service methods such as DSCP as others that help you quantify your bandwidth for critical applications. Let's take a look at CBQoS with LiveAction today. This is one of the interfaces, and notice we are looking at it, the traffic before and after class right now being applied. Notice I can see each one of my classes and the traffic that we're seeing currently, and the peak and the 5-minute average is being shown. We can actually look inside each class and see the details of if we're having problems can be easily identified as well. One of the unique things about CBQoS is that at the top of the screen, I actually can select such as interface drops per interface, and we can actually see I am experiencing some interface drops right now, and I can actually drill down on those and see those drops as well. Also, we can actually view by application and class. We're going to talk a little bit about NBAR, but notice I'm actually classifying the data with NBAR so I can see my applications that are running and then see them classified afterwards with the class of service that I'm running today. So now I can actually see traffic before and after in real time using our tool. And notice that once again, since we're seeing the QoS view, I can quickly jump back to the NetFlow view as well and be able to see the flow view from a port's perspective as I'm showing right now. On QoS, one of the great things is that we have the ability of being able to drill down and see from the portal view as well, be able to see and advertise events, adjust the class. So as an example here, we can go to an overall home view, and let me show you that we actually do a flow tracking going through the network where we're actually tracking the flow of data. Where this is very unique is that the CBQoS MIB is showing the policy being violated right now in this interface in amber. So if I double-click on this interface and go to QoS, we very quickly can see that I am violating voice over IP, and I actually can view those statistics and see the drops that are happening right now. This is very important to be able to identify it. What we do that is so unique is that we can adjust the output QoS. Other tools that you see out there today, such as WhatsUp Go, SolarWinds, some NetQoS, or the others today, can all say they see QoS, but how many can go in and actually adjust the problem? We were running at over 256K on this pipe, so I'm adjusted to 512. Notice my expert tells me I still have 83% of the bandwidth available, so I'm going to give it 512K. If I oversubscribe, my expert steps in to tell me I made a mistake. So we're going to go out and adjust the output QoS right now and never go command line. We're going to save this just in case we have to reboot the router. And we're saving the running config right now. And as you can see, voice over IP is no longer being violated. So we can go back to our flow dynamics and look at our flows and now look through the network and see that every interface running a policy has an arrow on it is green. I can now tell my quality of service end to end is complete and looking well. In addition, using CBQoS, I can actually filter on one discrete conversation and be able to show only that flow. So now we're monitoring one conversation using NetFlow and guaranteeing that everything is in the right class of service. DSCP46, all the way through the network, can be identified very, very easily as well. One of the things I stress that must be available for us from the CBQoS MIB is the ability to go back in time. What happened yesterday? Notice we have an emblem here that I can actually pick days, weeks, or months. I can go back in time and then select a time frame of information and then be able to analyze that data and be able to see problems that we had yesterday. So when someone calls you up and goes, what happened yesterday at 2:30, I can go out and analyze and see if we did have any class drops, if we did have any interface drops on our interface as well. And look, we did have some problems yesterday. And so we can go back in time. So it's important that the tools you look at be able to go back in time using the CBQoS MIB to be able to see that information and to be able to see class or class drops as well and be able to identify by application and class. Once again, we're using NBAR and the CBQoS MIB for this functionality. I do want to point out that you should have a reporting mechanism, and in the portal that we do provide, you can provide the ability of looking at the class drops, or application or class can be done very, very easily using our tool. So we'll go to application and class, and we can generate a report. And there's the traffic we have as well through the portal. So you must be able to report on that information as well. Last is NBAR. Didn't really mention it at the beginning of the presentation, but I decided to add it because network-based application recognition is a mechanism used by Cisco routers and switches to inspect deep packet and be able to identify applications. This is very important because we can see web-based applications and client-server applications that dynamically assign TCP or user datagram port numbers. After the application is recognized, then using quality of service, we can classify that data into the network class best that you would be using the data for. So NBAR does a deep packet inspection on some of the packets in the data flow to determine which traffic category the flow belongs to. The NBAR approach is useful in dealing with fake traffic as well as identifying non-standard applications using dynamic ports and for malicious software attacks on the network. How do we access NBAR? Is via SMP through a MIB. And one of the things that I like about it is that it's easily updatable through what's called a PDLM, which is a protocol description language module. Most of the time I can upgrade this module without ever even having to reboot the router, and when they have new protocols are added on an actual monthly, weekly, yearly basis whenever the updates perform. The benefits of using NBAR is really beneficial. You can actually, to help ensure performance for mission-critical application, NBAR allows the network to provide differentiated services for each application. You can provide absolute priority and a guaranteed bandwidth to your mission-critical application, such as Oracle, or an application that runs on a particular web page. Reducing web expenses as well, because in many parts of the world, I think, we see, especially between countries, telecommunication links can be really expensive. NBAR provides a solution to this problem by enabling us to intelligently utilize WAN bandwidth so that you can provide acceptable service levels to minimum possible bandwidth use. Also manage web response. NBAR allows you to identify the web pages and the type of web content that you deem critical. And we're seeing now NBAR improving VPN performance, because VPNs are often implemented to reduce networking costs while providing increased flexibility. Unfortunately, the service quality of VPN is often difficult to guarantee in most networks, and running NBAR and VPN concurrently on the router solves the problem by identifying the mission-critical traffic before it's encrypted. This allows me to, once again, classify it using the QoS controls, and once again, we can actually modify those classes using LiveAction. And last, improve multi-service performance. Multi-service networks allow you to combine your data, voice, and video requirements into one unified network. Unfortunately, each of these services require different network characteristics. NBAR is able to intelligently identify each type of packet and provide the proper network characteristics as well. So really, how do you configure NBAR has been the major issue that has been done via CLI. We now do it in LiveAction. So once again, the CLI separates the configuration into two parts, the definition of the classes and then the application of the quality of service mechanism to each class. We've eliminated the difficulty of doing this because we now do it through our graphical GUI interface. So such as a demonstration, I think I'll go to my home network. This is actually my router sitting at home right now, and we're looking at the policy running on my VLAN right now. Notice in the upper left, this is upper right, this is the actual application NBAR running, and notice the detail and the granularity. You see I've been doing some Skype. You can actually see my daughter's been doing some BitTorrent earlier today. My YouTube videos were actually being looked at, have some H323 traffic. But able to classify this traffic is very important, because now I can put it into a class of service. To give you an example, this is Teredo protocol. Teredo was not in NBAR originally. I want to show you that I can go to QoS and manage NBAR, and look right here. These are the applications that are built into NBAR, and I have created custom protocols without ever going command line. So I can actually click and look, and using the intelligence of NBAR, it is already starting to classify data on my network. I simply click, create a custom protocol, and now it's inside NBAR automatically, as you've seen. Now, why is this important is now that I've defined these protocols on the network, once again, we very easily now can see the breakdown of traffic. Now, notice at the bottom, I'm running a monitoring class-based model right now, and here we are looking at the different classes. So when I created the Teredo protocol, it got thrown in the default class. That's not where I want it. So I very easily can go to quality of service, and where I managed NBAR, I now can manage it from the QoS perspective. Here's what we can actually do is look at the actual policy and look at network management right here, and notice that there is no Teredo. I want to add the Teredo protocol using NBAR, so I can actually go out and modify this class, select Teredo, add the match statement, preview it via CLI, and now save it to the device. What's great now is that now when I go back to my policies and I look at network management now, Teredo has now been added into my class name automatically. So into my class, I've added Teredo protocol, and now I'm setting up, getting ready to deploy quality of service on my network very, very easily. It is the flow tracking that's very unique of putting it all together. Let's look at the network now. We're now monitoring the flow of traffic through the network, seeing the traffic broke down into classes. We can now see using the CBQoS MIB that we're having no problems, and we can drill down using CBQoS at any time with NetFlow to be able to identify those classes of service. So the flow tracking today is very unique on how we use NetFlow. Being able to use the CBQoS MIB, as we were demonstrated, gives us the ability of seeing the class. We were using quality of service in this case. We were using our tool to be able to adjust it, to be able to adjust quality of service on the fly. Last, as you go out and deploy quality of service on your network, you need tools that can help you, such as you see that we're doing with using CBQoS and NetFlow and NBAR. I also want to show you that the Cisco best practices is built into the tool as well. So for those of you who are running CBQoS today, if you're ever in doubt of what's going on and if you're making the correct decision with CBQoS, we generate an automatic audit report that classifies issues automatically for you with CBQoS, with NetFlow, with IPSLA, with routing, all combined. We have an audit report that tells you where problems may lie and where your policies are and how they're performing as well today. Is all available within one easy-to-use tool. I emphasize the ability to going back in time. Most tools do not do this as well as the tools should. Well, our ability to go back in time to look at traffic over a period of time is easy. With our view to be able to go into analysis, I can actually go in and filter on that data and go back in time and look at that traffic for a period of time that you specify. So when someone says, did we have a problem 3 weeks ago on Tuesday at 1 o'clock, you need to have a tool that can go back in time and then filter very quickly to find that data like we can do in this tool as well. Steve, I think that's an excellent overview that we've shown them today on the actual abilities of NetFlow, CBQoS MIB, and NBAR. At this point in time, I think I'll turn it back over to you to see if there's any questions that we have. If not, we'll wrap this session up.
Thanks, Keith. Appreciate it. That was a great workshop. And go ahead and type in questions through the chat window there, and it'll come up on the screen. We'll be able to answer the questions. See, how scalable is your solution? Is one of the first questions there. As far as the scalability, the way that the product is engineered is that you set it up on servers, and it's the licensing is based on the number of devices that you add into LiveAction. So, for example, a router or switch is classified as a device, so we don't count interfaces. You can have a large device with a lot of interfaces. It still only counts as one device. Rule of thumb is that on a per-server basis, you'll use about, the capacity is about 200 devices into a single server. So a single server can handle up to 200 devices. If you add more devices, then add more servers. I would say that if you've got a very large environment, we have a lot of global customers that don't really blanket the environment. They'll use it as a quality of service architecture tool or a project-oriented tool, maybe associated with voice or video deployment. And our most popular license levels are in the, say, 50 to 100 to 200 device license range. And we do have some customers that have deployed it on a global scale and set up servers, multiple servers based on logical separation of the network or geographic separation of the network.
And Steve, I want to add that we do scale extremely well from the flow perspective. Easily 70,000 flows per second can be captured. That's 2.2 million IP conversations a second that can easily be brought into one LiveAction server.
So, yeah, in essence, we can support anything from, 10 or 25 devices on up to hundreds of devices. And if you look at the way that the tool works, it's not built as an enterprise monitoring tool necessarily. It's really built as more of an engineering tool, so for instance, the way that you add devices into the map, it's specifically designed to, take a look at how their performance is going and then perhaps deploy a policy or modify a policy. So if you start thinking about adding hundreds of devices into that particular map, we have ways you can actually divide up the number of devices by geographic region and then drill down into them. but I would say that, covering across thousands of devices is probably not originally what the tool was designed for. We're kind of heading in that direction, but to be honest with you, the development direction of the product is really more oriented for customer response is just drilling more and more down into QoS policies and helping them to manage those rather than covering broad expanses of devices. Let's see here. What OS is supported? It's Windows Server 2008 R2. You can load it. It'll run fine on VM. And a 200 device license, to give you a ballpark figure on that. We're running a promotion now here in the fourth quarter of the year. You can get a 200 device license. Ballpark discounted price on that is about $115, $120 grand, and that includes all of the functionality that was shown today: the flow visualization, quality of service provisioning and management, IPSLA, and route mapping. You can break out some of the functionality as modules, but I'd say the only module that's really broken out on its own is just perhaps the flow visualization if folks aren't running quality of service on the network. And we do, most of our customers, I'd say 75% of them buy the software and then install it on servers that they provision themselves, but we do turnkey the solution as an appliance if that's what you prefer. Oh, here's a good question for you, Keith. If you're working in quality of service, how do you handle syntax changes based on different iOS versions?
Well, when we do a learning, when we actually add the devices and we learn each device, because the 6500 doesn't talk like a 2811 or an 1811, and so we do a discovery process that allows us to be able to see the differences between the routers. That way, when policies are pushed, they're pushed out correctly. To be honest, most of the people roll out route policies. They've got an 1811, they'll push all the policies out. They got a 6000 series, they'll push the policies out using that nature.
Thanks, Keith. This is a good one. How does NBAR affect my router?
NBAR can have a performance hit if left on for long periods of time. So typically today, we can look and see how much usage is used, and even there are Cisco documents that state how much is memory that's used, and it's really very trivial. And once again, as we look at it, it does actually allocate memory itself as NBAR is being run. So it doesn't really use that much memory at all, to be honest with you, to be able to run it in the constant node. So most of our customers turn NBAR on and they use it. NBAR uses 150 bytes to track each stateful protocol flow. So by default, NBAR allocates about 1 megabyte of memory to flow resources, allowing NBAR to track about 5,000 stateful flows without allocating more memory, is the figure that I've got, Steve.
I've got the next question is, how does your tool handle hierarchical policing?
Oh, we do. I can demonstrate, but we do support hierarchical policies, and we can actually build them automatically from within LiveAction. We're using your template, our templates, or a combination of both can be done. So we actually do that within the tool very easily, and so you can actually add the policies dynamically and then push them out over multiple interfaces on multiple routers with single mouse click.
Excellent, thank you. Does LiveAction alert on policy overruns? What kind of alerts are sent?
Oh, as I should have covered that in the demonstration. He's absolutely right. We do show alerts. We show alerts on the screen visually. We show alerts and track them in the alerts option as well. And we also export the alerts via SMTP and syslog. So there are multiple ways of tracking the alerts, even through the portal. There is an alert tracking mechanism as well. So dynamically, we show the alerts several ways, and the alerts are sent to a manager or managers via several methods as well. But definitely, that's definitely a yes on can we look at alerts within quality service. We identify the alert, and then even can tell you by class and tell you which drops are occurring.
Do you have to have flow exports turned on from the service provider for flow tracking in MPLS?
No, the answer to that is no. We use a dynamic mechanism in our tool that when I was demonstrating the example of flow tracking was through an MPLS network, and we can actually track the flows. That's one of the magic of our tool that works extremely well in MPLS networks. You simply pull the clouds together using our click and drag methodology, and then the flows are actually matched through the cloud dynamically with our tool.
Excellent.
Good question.
Do you provide training? Yeah, we do provide training. Actually, Keith delivers excellent training. We can either do it remotely via WebEx or on-site, but there's actually a class that is divided up into, I believe it's 8 different modules that can usually take about a day and a half, I believe, right, Keith?
You're correct.
What size server do you recommend?
Oh, just any medium-class server, quad-core with 8 gig of RAM would be just a typical good server for us to use. You know, remember, this was designed originally, this application was designed for military use to be run on a laptop in an extreme environment. So the resources it takes is very, very minimal. You know, that's why we had great success with running in a standard VM environment with minimal requirements.
Thanks. See, I think we covered the licensing question. So yeah, the product is licensed by the number of devices that you would put into it. So it could be 10, 25, 50, so on and so forth. Price range, promotional ballpark, I mentioned that 200 device licenses. Ballpark with the promotional end of year discount is about $115,000 to $120,000 for the complete package. The say a 50 device license is right at around $41,400. For the complete package. A 25 device license would be around $23,500, I think, with the discounts. I just wanted to thank everybody for participating in the workshop today, and I hope it was helpful. We do quite a bit of remote type training with the product. It opens some real doors as far as visibility, as far as QoS architecture on your network. So if that's something that you're working with, either related to voice and video or just protecting other mission-critical applications, I encourage you to take a quick look at the software. And then feel free to contact us. There's our contact information on the screen. That's a breakdown of the different modules that are actually composed LiveAction, and it's all fully integrated. So it is, like Keith said, it's one of those tools on the market that does a lot in a single package that most products really only do passively. They only do passive monitoring, but we actually enter into the provisioning piece of it as well. Well, thanks, everybody, for participating in the session today. I hope you found it helpful. Stay tuned for an upcoming release of the software that we have here at the end of the year. It's going to have some great enhanced reporting functionality built into it and some great historical trending capability and newer forensic capability as well. And with that, if there aren't any more questions, if you need to contact us, go ahead and shoot us an email or give us a call. Thank you again.